Now, Australia definitely has its own cultures compared to the UK, and as a Brit that's been living here, I've definitely noticed a lot of different Australian cultures, and also speaking to Aussies, speaking to Brits, and just living here for a couple of years, I've definitely got a good idea of what Brits' opinions are of these specific Aussie cultures, whether we like them, whether we think they're weird, or if we just think that the UK does it better than Australia. Before we get into it, make sure you give the video a like and subscribe, and yeah, let's get into it. So the first culture that they have in Australia is the whole outdoor and beach sort of culture. What is Brit's opinion on this? Well, this I feel like is the most obvious one, and I feel like obviously we love it, because in the UK there's nothing really like this. Summer's alright in the UK because you can go out, you have got the long evenings, but that's only for a couple of months of the year, and who says the weather's even going to be nice during that time? As well as this, we don't obviously have the beaches that Australia has. There's a few okay beaches in the UK, but I don't really live near the coast, and it's not really worth the journey because the beaches there aren't amazing like they are in Australia, where the beach is on your doorstep. Everyone in Australia lives very close to the coast, so the beach is a massive part of everyone's life, and I think it's obviously one of the best things about Aussie culture. Not just the beach, but outdoor lifestyle in general. Going for walks, going for hikes, sunbathing, chilling in the park is something which Brits definitely love about Australia, because yeah, you don't really get much of that back home. And coming to Australia and being able to do it for 9 months of the year at least is the best thing. The weather that comes with this is obviously a massive thing for Brits, because the weather that you get for 9 months in Australia will probably only be for a few weeks in the UK. So obviously Brits love this, and it's the main reason a lot of us moved to Australia. Now, the next culture is the whole drinking and pub culture. Now, what is Brits' opinion on this? We think ours is a lot better from my experience. Now, both countries have a pretty big drinking culture, party, pub culture sort of thing. I think both countries will think that they do it better, but in my opinion, I would say the UK probably does it better. Australia definitely is better for outdoor bars, having a nice drink in the sun. Australia wins in that aspect, but for me, the pub culture, pub gardens in the summer, we're just chilling in the pub, having a few beers, and events and stuff, nightlife in general is way better in the UK. I think Brits definitely will agree with me on this, is the whole pub drinking culture is bigger in the UK than Australia. Like I've said, it's not a bad thing at all for Australians, because I feel like here the coffee, breakfast, early morning culture is actually bigger than the drinking culture here, which is definitely a good thing. And it's one of the biggest positives about Australia, is you can be so healthy here. In the UK, that's definitely less of the case, but the drinking culture, the pub culture is way bigger. And I think we do the whole pub thing a lot better than Australians, personally. Not necessarily a good thing, because you'd rather be healthy, but I think Brits definitely think that we do it better. In my opinion, we probably do. The next culture is sports culture. Now, this is another one which Brits definitely think that we do better. And again, in my opinion, I definitely think we do this better. Now, not for every sport, but for me, there isn't that many big sports in Australia. I know they have Aussie rules. They have something called State of Origin, which is like the biggest event in Aussie rules here, I'm pretty sure. But other than Aussie rules, I don't think there's much. Cricket's not anywhere near as big here as I thought it would be. Rugby doesn't really seem to be that big. People play, yeah, AFL, but that's about it. And I think, honestly, more people here seem to get up in the morning and watch the Premier League than they do watch the Aussie games. Football in Australia isn't that big, nowhere near as big as the UK. People here get up and watch the football from the UK. I mean, football's the main one in the UK, but I think rugby's bigger. Cricket, tennis, like the UK is just better for sports. I think football's the main one for that. I think the amount of Aussies that I meet that want to watch the English football and don't really care at all about Australian football. And for me, Australian sports, whilst there will be passionate fans, of course, I feel like a lot of people do just watch it, not as a touristy thing, but more just for how do I explain it? Like entertainment rather than passionately wanting their team to win, from my experience. I feel like, you know, not to the same extent that America's got, but I feel like in America, people go and watch the baseball for like a touristy aspect, but don't really care about the game. That's less the case in Australia, but for me in the UK with football, people are so passionate about football, and that makes the amazing atmosphere. And in general, for me, sports culture is bigger and better in the UK, and I think most Brits would agree with me on that. I'm sure a few of you Aussies in the comments are going to argue this point, but from my opinion, nah, UK does it better. The next culture is the work culture, or more specifically, the laid-back vibes towards work, because I feel like that is the culture towards work in Australia. I've spoken about this before, but Australians are a lot more laid back in terms of work compared to in the UK. And this is something that Brits definitely love. I feel like it's a massive positive of Australia. First of all, you get paid more in general in Australia, but the vibes towards work are a lot more laid back. In the UK, work dictates people's lives, and everyone spends the week waiting for Friday, waiting for the weekend to come around and wishing away 5 days of the week. Obviously that happens in Australia, but for me, people enjoy their lives a bit more. It's much more relaxed, the vibes towards work in Australia. And Brits who have moved here, considering they're most likely going to be getting a better wage, I think love the laid back vibes towards work as well. Compared to in the UK, where, to be honest, I would not want to work a 9 to 5 in the UK, having lived abroad for 3 years now. I just wouldn't want to do it. Next up is food culture. This depends. Brits' opinions, I think, are mixed on this. I think if you're talking about restaurants, eating out, going out for food, for me, Australia does it better. I think a lot of Brits will agree on this, because there's nothing better than sitting outside at an outdoor restaurant, eating your food in the sun setting. It's just the best thing in Australia, being able to eat out. In terms of takeaways, the UK definitely does this better. Takeaways are a bit more expensive in the UK, but the quality of the takeaway and the options as well, your Chinese, your Indian, your pizzas, they're all so much better in the UK, even though they're more expensive. It's probably worth it. So food culture wise, eating out at restaurants, for me, Australia wins, and I think a lot of Brits would agree with me on that one. But takeaways, ordering food to your house, the UK definitely wins, apart from the price. The next up is barefoot culture, the culture that Australians have, where they seem to walk barefoot literally everywhere, down the street, in shopping centres, even in cafes and restaurants. I see people barefoot. Like, what are you doing? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've tried this a bit recently, and it's actually quite nice. Walking down the street barefoot, weirdly, is very relaxing, and I can kind of see a little bit why Aussies do it. However, when it comes to wearing bare feet in shopping centres and restaurants, that's when it's probably a step too far, and I think a lot of Brits will agree with me on this one. How weird is it that Aussies just wear barefoot everywhere they go? Inside, in the shops, outside, if you're at the beach or you're just walking outside, I can accept that. In the shops or restaurants, that's a bit weird, and I think a lot of Brits will agree with me on this one. Why do you do it, honestly? And the last culture is the Australian culture of simply not giving a about anything. Now, obviously they care about a lot of things, but generally attitudes towards life in Australia, they're not bothered by much. Something major could happen and they're just like, is what it is, continue with their day. And yeah, I feel like people in Australia, the culture here is very laid back and nothing much phases them, and Brits definitely love this. I think being in a country like the UK, where everyone's so petty and bothered by every little thing, and people get wound up so easily and so bothered and so hurt by so many things. In Australia, they just don't care, just like, is what it is. And I think moving from the UK to Australia, being surrounded by that culture is definitely nice, because it adds to the holiday kind of vibes, because everyone here is pretty laid back and don't really care about the stresses of life and major things. They all are very laid back towards it, and I think Brits being here definitely like that as well. It's a good escape from the UK, where everything at home feels quite serious. So they are some Australian cultures and what British people think of them, and also what I kind of think of them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this one. I'll be interested to hear your opinions, especially you Australians. You can let me know your thoughts. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon with another video.